Could our disconnect from nature be undermining both the planet's health and our health? In January 2026, the UK government produced a report stating that biodiversity collapse was one of the biggest threats to national security. Although the report was published in January of this year, 2026, these concerns have been raised by scientists for the past 50 or 60 years. The information in this report is not really new. However, the fact that the UK government are now recognising it and publishing reports, it does show the extent to which they are starting to take it seriously. Now, it's worth mentioning as well that although this report was published in the UK, many countries around the world right now are suffering from some element of biodiversity collapse. In some countries, it's worse than others, but generally the trend around the globe is that ecosystems are collapsing. Now, when we talk about ecosystems collapsing, it's important to point out that everything we have in the modern age, whether it's food, products, buildings, electricity, energy, all these things come from some sort of natural resource. So even when we're looking at cars and stuff like this, everything in that car at some point was part of nature, and then it's been extracted or it's been burned or it's been molded, all these different things. Essentially, the energy has been taken from nature and then transformed into something that we can use. Now, as the populations around the world have grown and living standards have been raised, the demands on energy have increased. And with the explosion of AI, this demand for energy is only going to increase. So the issue here is if the energy demand from our civilizations continues to increase, so then will our need to encroach on nature. Nature provides ecosystems. We rely on those ecosystems to survive, believe it or not. We're quite detached from it today because we live in houses with heating. We have our food delivered to supermarkets, so we don't have to go out and hunt. Everything now is catered for us. We even have hot water on tap, the vast majority of us. And this has come at a cost because as this demand has increased, so has the need to encroach on nature. Because we're so sheltered from this reliance on nature these days, we don't understand the value that ecosystems have. Plants provide food for all of the herbivores around the planet. Those herbivores then provide food for all the predators and so on and so forth. So it's a delicate balance that we all live as a part of. In recent years, ecosystems are collapsing, whether it's the jungles in Borneo and Indonesia being destroyed for palm oil, whether it's the Amazon being destroyed for beef and cattle farming. Around the world, ecosystems are being destroyed. The good news is that there is something that we, the average people, can do about it. Now, as the consumer, we have the power to purchase the foods that we want to see. Now, the power here is through choice. If more people around the world reduce their meat intake and increase their fiber intake, it's not only good for our gut health, but it's good for the planet as well. The majority of these ecosystems collapsing around the world are being driven by mankind, and they're being driven by our desire to eat these foods. So, for example, in the Amazon, as I've mentioned, vast swathes have now been destroyed or are being destroyed in order to grow soy, to then feed cattle, to then satisfy our need for beef. And the saddest part of this is that while we have such demand, there are still significant parts of the world where people are starving and can't even get clean water. So what can you do? Well, the thing that we can do is reduce our meat intake. Now, this isn't a vegan preachy post. This is just me talking plain facts. If we all reduce our meat intake, we will reduce the burden that we are putting on nature. Now, I'm not going to get into the semantics of all the other issues that are driving these problems around the world, because it's not just the fact that we eat meat. There are other factors, but this is the one I'm focusing on for this post, is that we can all drastically reduce the amount of meat that we eat. And by doing so, not only do you reduce the burden on nature, but you also increase the health of your own gut. Our guts thrive on plants, not meat. Meat can be part of a balanced diet, but in order to really have a thriving microbiome, we need plants and we need variety. So by adopting more plants into our diet, not only are you helping yourself, but you're also helping the planet. And I think one of the things to focus on with this approach is that we've very much been conditioned from a young age to see our meals as kind of the meat, the carbohydrate, and then the vegetable, which is usually the afterthought. I want to sort of reverse engineer this and have the vegetables at the forefront, plus the carbs. And then if you want to have your meat, absolutely fine, but make it more of an afterthought when it comes to the plate. We want to focus on variety. We want our plates to look like the rainbow. And by doing this, we give ourselves the best chance of having a healthy gut for years to come. And as well as reducing our meat intake, when we are going to eat meat, if we can, we should always try and shop local where possible. Now, there are other factors that go into whether someone will do this or not, because I know cost, especially where I am, is a huge factor in why people won't shop more locally. It's not because they don't want to, it's because of cost. But if you have the option to, and you can afford to, I will always recommend going as local as you can for your food and supporting your local farmers. So that's what we can do. Eat more plants, reduce the burden on nature, and spend more time in nature. And by spending time in nature, we also help ourselves. Mental health is a huge burden around the UK at the moment. And one of the things that we can definitely do to help this is to spend more time outside. In my next video, I'm going to look at the difference between reducing our meat and eating more plant-based and then going full vegan, and why there's some confusion between these two approaches. See you there.